comfortable. Everybody else was hot.
It was bad enough that it warranted an interruption.
That was that.
I flew airplanes commercially for 20 years. I'm fully aware of temperature sensitivities of a large number of units. Yeah, started the Coast Guard Search and Rescue, and then I flew commercially for about 20 years. Southwest Airlines. That's not what I do now, but I used to. You know, I guess they're all, to me, they're commodities. Pardon me? Best price or best schedule, you know, I think is the driver for me.
Ready?
So are you, because you're very strict with that, so you're saying if you push that to date and it took you 6 hours to take off?
There were times where we didn't have a crew in the cockpit. And then when we pushed back, it was just wind and rain and.
Alrighty, good morning. Our meeting will be live in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 Finance and Audit Commission, the Joint Finance and Audit and Operations and Safety Committee meeting. I'm Councilmember Gil Schussler, Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. Chair of the Operations and Safety Committee, John King, is also present. The meeting format is hybrid. A quorum should be physically present at the HART Administrative Offices, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the committee members are participating via communication media technology. If everybody would please look at the screen if we're able. An image of the flag is displayed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The next agenda item is public comment. There's no one scheduled to speak. Is there anyone present for the public comment this morning? Appearing to be none. Therefore, we'll dispense with the, we don't have to read that other part, do we, Mr. Gibson? Okay, very good. This will conclude the public comment section, public input section of the meeting. Before we move on to the regular agenda, I would like to introduce or reintroduce HART's new Director of Procurement, Daniel Marti. Good morning, sir. Welcome. Daniel Marti is an accomplished procurement contract management leader with more than 15 years of experience in the public sector, specializing in transit and infrastructure environments. He has successfully led multi-million-dollar contracts, strategic sourcing initiatives, and organizational process improvements at agencies including Dallas Area Rapid Transit, the Virginia Department of Transportation, and most recently DFW International Airport. He's recognized for his collaborative leadership style. Daniel's dedicated to advancing transparency, operational excellence, and supplier diversity. He holds certifications as a CPPO, CPPB, NIGP-CPP, and is completing his BA in Operations and Safety Supply Chain Management at UNT Dallas. Outside of work, Daniel's a U.S. Army veteran and fluent in both English and Spanish. Mr. Marti is not a stranger to HART. He was a member of the team from 2009 to 2011. So welcome back, Daniel. And is there anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you. I'm just glad to be here and looking forward to do some good work.
Good deal. Thank you. You can someday you can get up there and explain all the initials that we just talked about. A little bit of alphabet soup, but at your leisure. Welcome back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the approval of the minutes. In your packet were minutes from the Finance and Audit Committee from February 16th, 2026, and the Operations and Safety Committee meeting from January 12th, 2026. If there's no objections, a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second? Motion is second. Any discussion? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda are committee action items and presentations for review by the Committee for Recommendations for approval to the HART Board of Directors. Item 4A is to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to authorize the CEO to modify the existing contract with Gas Cell LLC for natural gas supply to extend the period of performance through August 31st, 2026, with no change to the total not to exceed amount of $5,664,054. Ms. Audrey Aroni Reeves, Interim Director of Procurement and Contracts Administration, you are recognized to provide an overview for the committee on this.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Mr. McCarthy, we are requesting a 120-day extension. This contract is for the acquisition and management of natural gas supply for HART. The extension is to finalize information and requirements for generating revenue from the Environmental Protection Agency Renewable Identification Number under the Renewable Fuel Standard Program. This extension will allow the completion of the RFP, solicitation document, selection of a vendor, and bring the contract to the August board meeting for award. There is no change in the not to exceed amount of $5,664,054, and that is the committee action item for 4A.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Newberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel like we did this just a month or two ago, and we extended it to about now. What are the remaining issues, and why the 120 day delay now?
Chair, if I may. Yes, you're correct. We did request an extension before. We issued an IFB where we had broad participation from the marketplace. During the IFB, we received over 20 questions. And after reviewing questions, myself, procurement and legal, we came to the decision that there's structural defects in the RFP IFB we put out. So instead of locking ourselves in a bad contract with structural gaps that might cause headaches down the road, we decided to cancel the IFB and resolicit our RFP. And that's why we're here today.
And just as a follow-up to that, so we're putting it now out as an RFP. The timeline for that is approximately 120 days, anticipated to be awarded on or about the August meeting. And in the meantime, we're extending the legacy contract under the existing terms that it has. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Appearing to be none, do we have a motion to recommend that the HART Board of Directors approve item 4A in advance to the full board at the next meeting?
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Appearing to be done. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 4B, to recommend that the HART Board of Directors authorize the CEO to award a 15-month contract to New Jack Companies, Inc. for Marion Transit Center, MTC, second floor build-out in the amount of $1,362,886, with options of $17,331 and a contingency of $136,289 for a total not to exceed amount of $1,516,506. Ms. Aroni Reeves, you're recognized to provide an overview of this item.
The scope of the Marion Transit Center second floor build-out includes construction of 3 enclosed offices, a small conference room, replacement of the existing HVAC system, and upgrading the existing elevator. A full and open solicitation was released on November 14th, 2025. 5 responses were received and were technically evaluated by a selection committee comprised of 3 HART voting staff members, 1 HART staff member serving as technical advisor, and 1 HART consultant as a subject expert. New Jack companies received the highest technical score and had the lowest price. New Jack's technical proposal referenced key project management strategies, including just-in-time delivery model, which supports efficient scheduling and cost control, a project management portal ensuring transparency and streamlined communication, and a comprehensive work plan, including health and safety measures, which demonstrates a strong commitment to risk management and compliance. And that is committee action item 4B.
Okay, any questions on 4B? Mr. Knight, you're
Good morning. Also, along with that, is there any plans, or I thought there was some plans to do some renovation down below, including the restroom or so? Is anything else going on other than upstairs?
I can ask someone from PMO to answer that question.
Good morning, Linda Crescentini, Director of the Project Management Office. So we are doing this according to funding. So we're fully funded for the second floor. In the cycle that we're now, for the budgeting cycle, we do have a request for funding for the first floor to do exactly what you had mentioned, the restroom upgrades, the break room upgrades, and all of that. We're just splitting it because we don't have enough money to do it all at once.
Is it? Go,
Go ahead.
then
Go ahead,
let someone
Dr.
else. You go.
That was my question about the restroom. It seems like we have a number of issues around the restroom, and I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done from a preventative standpoint, even if it's not an overhaul. But is there something we can do to make sure to maintain the safety as well as the usefulness of the restroom throughout this process?
Absolutely, we could look at that. And I know, Phil has in the past. I don't know what specifically, but we can certainly look at that and get back with you.
Just seems to come up more often than
Sure.
not in that location, and it's a heavy traffic area,
Mhm.
and a number of things have come up. So we want to make sure that we take that into consideration versus if we can't make structural changes, that we don't wait a year or 15 months later to address them.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Deaver.
So what I heard you say from the previous question, this might have been, I don't want to short circuit this. So just-in-time delivery, best management practices, is this contract is it for the full scope, or to what extent are we carrying risk for substantial change orders given supply chain disruptions, et cetera, over the execution period?
It's for this full scope of the
Are we
second
carrying
floor.
the risk, or are they committing to, like, I guess, and now that I learned that this is part of what needs to be done, and there's another part of what needs to be done, yet there's not funding for it, it sounds like, I guess I don't fully understand how it can be for the full scope of what our need is. So where do those lines get drawn? And then to what extent is the contractor carrying the risk for those supply chain, let's call them disruptions, versus us? Is it going to be a change order, or will they have to eat it?
They submitted their full price for the second floor MTC for the scope of work that we had in the statement of work, which is the offices, the HVAC upgrade, and the elevator upgrade. So they assume all the risk, and we are not looking at doing any change orders.
Okay, and then if we have a need, and I'm not as personally familiar with that, to do basic remediations to things like the bathroom, how does that get layered into this project? And if there's not money for it, would that be something that we would be open to a change order on?
If there's no funding, we would not go ahead with a change order, but that would be a different procurement. We would solicit for a new contractor, or New Jack may, submit a response for that solicitation. But we would not be adding on to it. This project, we would do a separate solicitation with funding.
With the funding, okay.
Yes.
And so even though there's a an identified, potentially identified need to do some refurbishment in these areas that are not yet currently funded and are not yet being considered in this contract. The process to address those needs is quite some time away.
I'll defer to.
Sure, so there would have to be design and permitting involved in that. So it would, Audrey's correct, it would not be added to this current contract. It would be a separate proposal that goes out on the street.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Knight.
So with that, I don't feel comfortable. We've been talking about even the restrooms and things, and it don't seem like it's that big a deal where you got to go through all that. And the riders who patronize HART and some of the things doing to safety and everything, I don't see why it can't be. Or maybe go back and do a little bit more and bring it back, but sending it to the full board with some unknowns like these to me seem like it could be better to help out from what people have been asking for already and prioritize. I don't see no real huge amount, and they have did some things before. So with that, and you're saying that it's got to do a different one, I don't agree with that, and I don't support sending it on without looking at, some of the things that needed on the first floor.
Okay, what might be helpful here is what is the overall staff's plan for the entire complex? As I understand it, the second floor is as a specific purpose. Can anybody on staff address the overall plan for first floor maintenance? Ms. Holloway?
Jackie Haldo, for the record, Chief Administrative Officer. Just for clarification, the public restrooms were renovated in 2018. The current problem that we're having with the restroom is vandalism that we are putting in. We're trying to put in a supervisory schedule to go in and check them, and the timing and the time points of that is something that we're doing. And also trying to identify who is doing this. Are we finding similarities of patrons or maybe not even patrons, but just members of the public working with system safety? So that is happening, but the restrooms were renovated in 2018.
Well, they're renovated, but I think we've had consistent problems with it.
With
i.e.
vandalism, yes.
Okay, so I mean, that's something that's an ongoing project. But I guess what might help clear the air is what is the top level plans for the whole facility? What is the plan? Is there plans to refurbish them? Has there any discussion at all to refurbish the bottom floor? I know the top floor is going to be for maybe somebody could elucidate what the changes are covering. What's going to benefit from the front?
So for the top floor, for the second floor,
Right.
we have some remodeling to happen on the floor itself. Like we had mentioned, some office space to have the call center relocate back into that area. We have some state of good repair. We have the air handler that's up there that's past its useful life that's going to be replaced. Just efficiencies with the elevator. The elevator has some state of good repairs also that have to take place in order to safely move people up and down. So it's more of a state of good repair with looking at the location of some staffing and making it more efficient than the current situation.
Okay, will there be any employee break areas on the second floor?
There is a small one. It's not necessarily, what you would consider, but because you have people occupying the space,
Yeah.
it's much smaller than it is here, but it will accommodate, folks making their own lunch and being able to work there for their full shift.
So what is the general condition of the public areas on the bottom floor?
So
For the patrons?
the public area, MTC is a showcase for us, right? And so exterior wise, we have landscaping and all of that, which maybe we can look at and have improved. We just completed the concrete rehab. There was a lot of concrete failing in all of the drivable surfaces, and that was the first phase of this. So this is really kind of the second. We went from the concrete rehab on the exterior, making that completely safe, reworking some drainage, and making the landing pads, and then we're going to the second floor and then back to the first floor. So it's not, it's, you know, funding only allows us to go so far, and our prices have increased. But to make efficiencies for staff in this location, to get folks working together, again, was the primary goal of this.
What's the status of the restrooms at this moment?
The status of the restroom.
The restroom repairs and so forth? Are they
It's
functional?
not under design yet.
Part-
There's no design for
No,
the
no,
first floor yet.
They're broken, they were vandalized. We're not going through a design period and have to stall to get those fixed. I mean, that's ongoing. What is the current status
Right.
of it?
If I may,
Yeah,
they
please.
are up and functioning,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, the main problem is one of customer safety, right? We have actually staff that are what we classify as light-duty staff, folks that are out injured and so forth, stationed there all day specifically to let people in and out of the bathroom and monitor conditions in real time. So this is something we pay the utmost attention to. As Ms. Aldo alluded to, sometimes there are issues of direct vandalism. But what ails the bathrooms is not maintenance.
okay. So that's the.
Yeah, that was my concern. I wasn't thinking that as a result of the bill, that there would be additional bill for the restroom. It's a matter of if we're beautifying or uplifting the Marion Transit Center, that the restroom has to be a component that needs to be addressed. And if you are addressing that by putting staff and making sure that that is cared for on a regular basis, and actually paying someone to allow people in and out the stall, or maybe maybe use their ticket in order to code in or whatever, so that it's not others that are using the restroom other than the patrons and so forth. Maybe some type of system that would allow that to happen in addition to what you're doing. So I appreciate your comments.
That's why I wanted to clarify that. I wanted to make sure that we weren't missing the boat on it. Mr. King.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. McCarthy, we do have security personnel at the station and closed circuit TV, but not in the restrooms.
Not in the restaurant, correct, no.
Okay. We do have,
Yes,
okay. Are the restrooms directly accessible from outside, or do they have to go inside?
no, they're inside.
Okay. What's going to take for you to handle on this?
Oh, we're gonna continue to have as much of a human presence at all time, checking, every 30 minutes to make sure that, conditions are as they should be. I mean, it's as you would imagine, a delicate dynamic, in terms of, following, someone to the door and then going back in immediately following their usage. But, that's what we're committed to do, to make sure that the investments that we're making, replacing sinks, replacing faucets, replacing toilets, is a worthwhile investment for us.
And we're going back with institutional grade facilities as much as possible?
Yes.
Okay. And we have, is it primarily a problem with homeless people, or is it youthful gangs, or?
I don't know
How
about
would you
gangs, but I
characterize
would
it?
say it's a product of the dynamic that exists in the neighborhood.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mr. Niebuhr.
I just want to, maybe for my own benefit, and I apologize if this is obvious to everybody else, but there's really three things that we're talking about. We're talking about this contract being forwarded, which is a portion of the total need, primarily focused on the second floor, and includes some first or ground level remediation that improves pedestrian walkway safety concerns. There's a third floor that does not have funding available, so it wasn't included in this scope. And then the bathroom concerns that we are discussing is not included, but it's related to vandalism and falls maybe more into a maintenance category,
Yes.
repairing when something does get damaged because of the vandalism. And we're taking our best steps to combat the vandalism through light-duty workforce and other measures to the extent that we have them. But I think there's three issues, and I do apologize because I got them commingled. but it becomes fairly clear that this issue, the second floor refurbishment, has already been evaluated, and then based on the budget that we had, the scope was identified, and then that was put out, and then that's where we are here now today. So it would make little sense to delay forwarding this to the board, because that wouldn't, it's not like the money's gonna magically appear, and even if it did appear, to go through the entire process again with an expanded scope would just delay the execution of this work. Am I tracking?
Well,
Right,
one clarification, there's only two floors. There's the first, the ground floor, which has the restrooms, then the second floor, which is in the process of the refurbishment, which would accomplish the whole goal. And you're correct in the assumption and the commentary that the restroom issue, again, they were just built out not that long ago, but that the vandalism is a concurrent maintenance issue, which is covered under other budgetary operations, an operating expense as opposed to a capital expense.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I should have said the second phase in the construction for when money becomes available, which is the third item that we're talking about in a categorized fashion this morning.
Well, there's really not even a third phase, I don't think, really planned for, is there? Really?
Right,
It's
and so
other than just,
I think one thing that bears
streets.
mentioning is that the scope that we're discussing approval for was very intentional and very specific. It wasn't like we wanted, as part of this, to do all of the things that Director Knight is talking about. Obviously, we want to improve those aesthetics and the customer experience as much as humanly possible, but that wasn't cut out, so to speak. It wasn't scaled down from the contract we're talking about. This was very specifically to move the paratransit operation into Marion Transit Center. We're gonna have the customer service apparatus, the scheduling apparatus, the dispatching apparatus. So it was a very, I don't wanna call it myopic, but it was a very specific goal that we were trying to achieve. The bathrooms in and of themselves are a safety and security issue. They are not a maintenance issue. They're cleaned multiple times throughout the day. They're accessible other than when we do have one of these issues where some type of illicit activity is taking place that make them uninhabitable. But other than that, they're functional pretty much all of the time. And as they said, we have staff there to monitor the usage. As far as, new aesthetics, better, brighter, overall MTC, we put in a capital request form request this year, as we do pretty much every year, but there never has been a holistic soup to nuts refurbishment of MTC on our radar recently.
Yeah, thank you. And with that clarification, I will be supporting moving this to the board.
Ms. Williams?
I was ready to make a motion to
Okay.
move.
Mr. Knight, did you have anything else you'd like to still do?
No,
Okay,
I'll go about it again.
okay.
Go ahead.
We'll take a motion on moving this forward to the
So
full
moved.
board for review.
So moved.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Appear to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, I oppose.
Okay, so it would be, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 to 1. Moves forward to the board. Okay, next committee action item is to recommend the HART Board Director to authorize the CEO to utilize State of Florida NSPO Value Point Contract Number 31160100000-25 NASPO-ACS for the Fastenal Company for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operations, MRO, and industrial supplies on an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity basis. Mr. Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance, you are recognized to provide an overview of this item.
Thanks, Chair. Members of the committee, Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance. Item 4C, request authorization for HART to utilize the State of Florida NASPO Cooperative Purchase and Contract for maintenance, repair, and operation supplies through Fastenal. This is not a single point purchase contract. It is a procurement vehicle that allows us to buy everyday operational consumables on an as-needed basis at pre-competitively awarded pricing. Fleet maintenance and facility maintenance consume thousands of low-cost, high-volume items each week. Fasteners, electrical connectors, shop supplies, fittings, safety equipment, janitorial supplies, and similar materials needed to keep the buses safe and vehicles available for service. Today, those items are often purchased from multiple vendors as emergency purchases or via spot quotes. That approach creates administrative work, inconsistent pricing, delayed repairs, and at times keep vehicles out of service. The state of Florida has already competitively solicited and awarded this contract, and public agencies may piggyback on it. By using it, HART avoids running dozens of small procurements each year while still meeting public purchasing requirement. The state contract already aggregated the purchasing power of the public agencies in the state of Florida and negotiated pricing once for everyone. With discounts ranging between 28% and 60%, this authorization will leverage the state's buying power to provide a 60% discount on fasteners and a 45% discount on janitorial supplies, 12 for top consumables, with spends exceeding $200,000 in FY25. With that said, I request that this committee recommend HART Board of Directors to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to utilize the State of Florida National Volume Point Contract number 3116000-25-NASPO-ACS with Fastenal Company for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operational and industrial supplies on an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity basis. With that, I'll take your questions.
Do we have any questions?
No.
I do. What type of items are we talking about?
Nuts, bolts,
Just-
toilet paper.
We're talking for the heavy maintenance facility, we're talking for the buses, are we talking buildings,
Both.
pens, pencils?
Not pens and pencils, it's more for maintenance, repair, and supplies.
Okay,
So it's mainly the hardware we use to keep the vehicles operational.
okay,
And janitorial supplies for cleaning the buses and
Okay.
facilities.
okay, good.
I do have a comment. I think based on what you're saying, that this will be a more efficient way to order supplies or get the additional things that are necessary to run the.
It's more efficient, it gives us better oversight in our consumables,
Right.
what's going in and out, and we're saving 60% on our number one category.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the
All
clarification.
right, thank you. Any other questions?
And just the other comment, and it was, we're taking advantage of a statewide contract that we're authorized to take advantage of on an IDIQ basis for any of the items that we need for this purpose.
Correct, sir.
Okay, good. If no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to pass this on to the full board for approval.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion, do we have motion second? Any discussion on the motion? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Okay, the committee, next on the agenda are committee action items and presentations. First one is 5A, to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to authorize the CEO to authorize a 5-year contract for emerging technology and amenities to SELS USA LLC in a not-to-exceed amount of $5 million. Mr. Dwayne Brown, Project Manager 1, you are recognized to give a presentation on this item.
Good morning, Chair Sizzler, committee members, Mr. McCarthy. I'm Dwayne Brown, Project Manager with HART, PMO, and I'll be presenting the Emerging Technology Initiative today. All right. So at its core, this program is aimed to improve the customer experience at the bus stop. This initiative is designed to provide real-time information, better communication tools, and enhanced amenities at locations where our customers wait for service. Today, I will outline why this initiative matters, what customers will experience, how we plan to phase the deployment, and the actions we are requesting from the committee. HART is taking the next step in modernizing the customer experience by adding real-time arrival information, accessible communications, and upgraded stop amenities to make riding easier and safer and more reliable. Next slide, please. The rationale behind this project is straightforward. Customers need more certainty at the bus stop. They want to know when the bus is arriving, and they to feel confident that they are at the correct stop. Additionally, customers want the bus stop to feel safe, visible, and user-friendly. We also want to provide customers with disabilities with access to information in various formats. This initiative is more than just a technology project. It encompasses the customer confidence, accessibility, and safety. We are enhancing the rider experience from waiting and wondering to knowing. Next slide, please. Customers will see a flexible package of technologies deployed based on location and need. This includes real-time arrival displays, text-to-speech, solar-powered lighting, interactive technologies, and messaging capabilities that will allow HART to communicate service alerts directly at the stop. The key point here is flexibility. Not every stop requires the same solution, but this contract provides HART with the ability to deploy the right mix of technologies and amenities. Next slide, please. We're focusing our initial deployment on time points, new shelter locations, and high ridership locations, transit centers, and stops where lighting and safety improvements can make a big difference. This targeted strategy prevents us from spreading resources too thinly, prioritizing locations where real-time information and upgraded amenities will have an immediate and visible impact. It allows us to build on momentum and allocate our investments where they matter the most. This initiative is structured as a phased plan that can be scaled across our entire system. In year one, we will focus on launching at 2 transit centers, time stops, and new shelter locations. By year 5, we aim to expand to high ridership stops. And finally, by our year 10, our vision is to deliver upgraded technology across the entire network. This phased approach is essential as it provides HART with a realistic path forward. It also creates a long-term framework for system-wide improvements rather than executing a one-time installation effort. Next slide. This is the right investment at the right time because it directly aligns with our desires outcomes for both our riders and the system. From a funding perspective, this project is supported by a combined package of approximately $4.1 million. That includes $1 million community investment grant secured through Congresswoman Kathy Castor, along with FDOT grant funding and the required local match. Therefore, this initiative is not only strategically sound, but it also is backed by identified funding, allowing us to move forward. Next slide. The action we are presenting to the committee today is to recommend that the HART Board of Directors authorize the Chief Executive Officer to award a 5-year contract for emerging technologies and amenities to Sales USA LLC for the amount not to exceed $5 million. Under this contract, Sales will provide, install, test, and maintain the hardware, software necessary to implement a fully functional real-time information system at the bus stops and transit facilities. This system will also enable HART to send customized messages to individual displays across the network as needed. In summary, this action allows HART to transition from planning to implementation. It provides us with a contractual mechanism to begin delivering a better, smarter, and more customer-focused experience at the stop. For these reasons, staff recommends that the committee review and advance this item to the full board for consideration at the April 6th meeting.
Okay.
With that, I take any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Dietrich.
Would you like to go first?
Thank you. How do we utilize it? Is it technology or is it Wi-Fi, or how do we make sure though, is it a board type concept where they change the screens and so forth? Can you give me an update on what that actually looks like?
If you go back to slide, keep going on, back there. Here we go. So the types of systems that we are soliciting for this contract was going to be, one is going to be like an e-paper reader, and that is like a Kindle type display. And what that does is it allows, it is number one, it's low powered, and it allows for us to be able to use it in these types of in the environments that we have out in the field. So it'll be easier for us to use solar power with it. Number two, it's a cellular based network. So we will have, it'll be using 5G technology to send information across back and forth, because there was, when we went through the process of the solicitation and researching, trying to do it with fiber optics is just too far of a reach. So we're not going to try to get fiber optic out to everywhere. So it's going to be used through the cellular devices. And then we have other devices, again, up to 42 inches that will allow us to use that e-paper technology. And then we will have LED type boards as well at our transit facilities, as well as we have like kiosk type of them, so that they can be like touch screen and stuff like that, so it's interactive. So it's a full gambit of things that's going to be out there.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question, the safety of the boards and so forth, is that something that's part of the contract, that in the event something happens to the board, or is there a
Yes.
repair or
So
a maintenance?
Within this contract, we'll have maintenance that's available for it. And also, this system has been deployed in hundreds of cities around the country, to include large cities that have the same types of issues that we have. There are vandalism-proof, as much vandalism-proof as you can get, because people will do what people do. But there is vandalism-proofing and different types of mechanisms that we have in place to prevent it from being destroyed out there. And when it does get destroyed, there's a mechanism within the contract that will allow us to replace them.
Okay, as well as keep them updated
Yes, ma'am.
within the 5 million?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Niever.
Thank you, and I'm going to apologize up front because I've got a number of questions.
Okay.
This is a contract not to exceed $5 million over a 5-year term. The funding slide shows a $10 million total. Can you help me understand the difference?
That funding slide was, how do I say this? They put that in, and it was like a placeholder, I think. And then
So is it no longer 10 million?
So, no. So the funding for this is as such. There's, so we received $5 million. We received $5 million from Kathy Castor under a grant that funded the BTI program, and BTI is Basic Transit Infrastructure. And as a part of that, as a part of BTI, the Emerging Technologies is a program within that. So $1 million of that money was allocated towards that. And then we received federal grants, FDOT grants we received FDOT grants in total of, I don't want to go off here, but it was close.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot in terms of all of that. It's just a little, I guess what I'm really trying to find out is, as I listened to the presentation, it was at first my understanding that this is a $5 million, 5-year project that's going to start with 1 to 2 bus stops, and then it's going to roll out to additional bus stops over that 5-year term. But then some part of the presentation suggests that it could run for as many as 10 years and cost above $5 million. Can you help me understand if any of those understandings are correct?
Correct. So, yes. So the money that we received was to initially start the program. And so this is a program and not a project, so to speak. So it's going to run for as long as we have it, as long as the program is running. So we are trying to move this agency into the future, into right now. And so the initial plan is that we're going to do 85 bus stops. That's what we solicited for. 85 bus stops plus two of our transit centers. And then as we move forward through the project, as we move forward through the program, we most certainly plan to extend this contract and extend past that to get more.
And that's where the additional years, the additional money above the $5 million might come in, but that's not being contemplated at the present.
No.
Okay, it's conceptualized but not being contemplated. And then you answered another one of my questions, which is 85 bus stops, starting with 2 of the highest priority, and then 2 transit centers. It's primarily informational displays at each of these locations. These informational displays are hardened, vandalism-resistant devices in various form factors that are designed to share information with the public, including the ridership. And it takes advantage of some of the data backbone that we've been building across HART that helps not only with scheduling and dispatch, but now surfaces that information from a rider perspective. Am I tracking correctly there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then to the extent that things will do get vandalized, it's gonna happen. There's a mechanism in the contract to replace those items if and when it occurs. There might be a cost to it, it might not. Is that what you said?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And then you said that it's a cellular-based, and then and you weren't considering fiber, which makes 100% sense to me. Fiber to each of these bus stops would be prohibitive, and these are low data connections. They don't do a lot. Do we have a system-wide cellular contract that provides coverage for all of the areas that we're concerned about, or do we need to consider that as part of this effort?
So as a part of this contract, the cellular will be provided, and then we will, it's a little bit out of my technical expertise with that.
So somewhere in the 5 million, maybe existing infrastructure or extension of the existing infrastructure to enable those data connections in each of the locations that we're putting these informational kiosks and displays.
Correct.
Okay. And then the this company, are they the company that will be doing the work, or are they going to be serving more in a consultant will identify subs to do the work? Can you help me understand where they fit in?
So yes, so just to give you a little bit of backstory on this, this is the second solicitation that we sent out for this. The first solicitation that we sent out, we were a little bit ambitious, and we tried to get one company to do all of it, to create this whole big old network for us. And when we got it back, we realized that one company was not able to do it. And so we went back to the drawing board and redid our solicitation. And what we learned was that we needed an integrator and not just a sole company. So when we solicited out for it, we said, can you provide, we wanted a company that can integrate multiple different vendors into this. So the sales is the integrator, and they have contracts with the companies that actually do it, and they're going to be doing the integration, and we're just going to be, and they'll get us the right mix of what we need.
And just to make sure that I oftentimes put things into my own words just for my own benefit, and I thank you for letting me do this. As an integrator, we're giving them a budget. They're going to use that budget to find partners to do what's needed. They will have the relationship between them and the partner, and our singular relationship is between us and the integrator, and we're giving them a budget of $5 million over the next 5 years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Knight.
Thanks for the presentation. Also, I was trying to figure out, when you talk about, at first you were saying like the transit and 2 bus stops, starting out 2 bus stops, and then that 5-year plan, you was gonna do more bus stops or whatever. My question is, with some of the bus stops that really need some things in the high volume area, will you look at some of them first? Which one more important, like the transit area and a lot of the funding, when you got 85 other shelters, how long would it take to get to some of them? Will it high ridership gonna take a priority over some of the other stuff that I just wanna, because we've been talking about a lot of this a long time. And there's a lot of good technology, but I'd like to see it out on the street more so than on the transit starting out.
All right. So just to make a couple of corrections here. So it's not 2 bus stops, it's 2 transit centers. So we're talking about UATC and MTC, where we're going to be putting information out at each of the bus stops that they have there. And then there's 85 stops around the city that's in the initial solicitation. We have also identified 313 other stops where we want to put it out, and how we're going to expand it out and what we're trying to do. And so it's not just so the initial plan is to get that, and then as we flow through and get through the contract, we plan on expanding it out when we know we are putting it to where it's gonna be most needed. So the first stops, what we're gonna be doing is gonna be time stop, a mixture of time stops and the places where we have the new shelters, and those are generally high ridership stops and stops where we have, where customers generally see this information and where they're gonna be using it. So that's our plan right now. So it's not 2 bus stops, it's 2 transit centers and 85 locations initially, to expand to 313 and more as we move along in the project, in the program.
Could you go to the slide that showed the phasing slide? Okay, what is it, what is a timed shelter?
A time stop? A time stop is a location that a bus stop is there at a time certain.
Okay.
So as the
Give
bus
me a
stop
route.
arrives
The
there.
one route, the 6 route?
Yes, so
Okay.
it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like over 200 time stops within the system, and those are the bus stops where people will sit and wait, and the bus will come there, and if they're waiting there, they're waiting because it's a time location, and they have to be there at a time certain, and they don't move until that time.
Okay, okay, like on 33, they hang up around the hospital and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I think it's important to based on what Mr. Knight says, certain districts that probably need to be just looked at more than others, okay, when you're doing it. Just keep that in mind when you're laying this out, particularly something like District 3 or something like that. I think it's going to be important to take all that into consideration. But that defining the time and the new bus shelters, we're looking at 85 in the first year, 80-something in the first year.
So yes, we're looking at that's our goal, to do 85 in the first year. If we can get more done with the funding that we have available, then we will try to get more done.
I think that covers a lot of your concerns, Director Knight. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Mr. Lieber.
Sorry to double dip, just 2 follow-up questions. And I know you can't predict the future. Is there an educated guess as to the total number of locations that we expect this $5 million to cover over the next 5 years? It's not 85. You're thinking 85 the first year if all goes well. We're going to do as many as we can with the funding that's available. Do we have any estimates or any thought process or framework there?
So my thought process in this is to how do I say this? So my thought process is to do the 85, to get that 85 done, and with the funding that's available. And so that, I think that funding, I think the ICE that we had was around 3.9 million to do that, and then whatever else we can get within that $5 million.
So just to clarify on that, so you're thinking with the funding that we have, whether it be 3.9 or 5 million, that we won't do many more than 85. That's not, it's not likely to exceed that number then, is what you're thinking. So
I think that we can do more than 85. The original reason why we had 85 was because when we were doing the solicitation, that's where we were at the time.
Okay.
So during that solicitation process, we said, okay, this is how much we have, and then we said, okay, these are the bus stops that we want to do, and then it kind of moved on from there. But as time moved forward, again, we have new shelters that are coming out all the time. I have 115 new shelters that have been placed, and that's one of the main points where we want to put shelters at.
And that's where you get to that 300 number that you were discussing. I guess what I'm trying to get to, maybe through an alternate path, is the estimated unit cost per stop to install these types of displays. And depending on how I do the math, it's anywhere from $58,000 to $45,000, which seems very expensive to me. So I think I'm missing something, and I'm trying to get to the root of that misunderstanding.
So if I can do some analysis on it, and I can try to and get back with you, because I don't have that information at this time, but I can get back with you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be my question. I assume that 85 was for the first year, and then we would have an additional 85 for each year going forward up to the 5 years in order to meet the $5 million allocation. Is that not fair to say, or you will take that back?
So the funding that we have available, the funding, the ICE that we did for this program was to do 85, and the 85 was going to be 3.9 mil. And then we had 4.1 mil was how much we had with that. And then we also have funding that's allocated to BTI, allocated to the basic transit infrastructure, where we get funding every year for that's able to sustain the program. And so our goal was to do as many as we can, as quickly as we can with the money that we have available, and then press on with the program as it goes forward.
Yeah, as a follow-up for me, that doesn't give me clarity on the $5 million and what we plan to get as a return on investment for the number of bus stops. And so it's still a bit kludgy for me to say 85, and then a 5-year contract when we've spent $3.9 million in the first year, and unsure of what happens 2 through the second through the 5th year, unless $5 million is a component that comes from this specific budget, and then you're going to add additional dollars from another segment or pot of money is what I think you're saying. But I would really like more clarity on what the plan is with the $5 million and what we can expect around the expectation as you said, a unit price.
Perhaps Ms. Jackman has some
Yeah,
comments.
I think Mr. Brown said earlier, sometimes we look at this as a project, but it's really a program, the Bus Transit Infrastructure Program, and it does have rolling funding that always comes into the program. So as additional information, we can probably bring you a spreadsheet of how we allocate the funding and spread it through all across the BTI program, because there's lots of other components. This is just one small component of the program. So sometimes it's very hard to pull out the different pots of money. So I think we can probably, as an addendum of information, get a little more granular for you.
Okay, and that may answer your question, another question of the 313, from 85 to 313, and what aspect would be covered. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, before I get a comment, one of the things that the purpose of bringing this to this committee is to flesh out these kind of inconsistencies or issues, so that when it comes to the full board, for final approval, it's a dress rehearsal, and you can come back and dot some I's and cross some T's, so that the less of a headwind or resistance for the full board. Mr. Knight.
Yeah, thank you. Again, pretty much that's what I wanted to say. As much information, spreadsheets or additional information that you can present, if we approve it to go forward, that information can be shared, because it's so vague and it does nobody any good, and it just gets shot down or either go back. So if anything or more information, even the breakdown, because I'm sure with that 5 million or 4.1, with the person who's going to do it, that you got to back that number out too, right? It's a cost. So that not all of it's going to go for the buses, the transit, or whatever, right? You got to pay the person, the labor.
So that is within the contract.
Okay, but so how much funding for the operation, to do the work, need to know all those things. But if you can bring more information as much as possible on some of the things that we're bringing up, it would help us as we Senate and the board can make a better decision.
It's better to flesh those out here with us than the full board with all the other participants. Yes, sir.
I mean, I think it's really important to know, or at least have a good expectation of how many sites we're gonna cover for this bucket of money, whatever it might be, whether it's 3.9, 4.1, or 5. Because I don't think I understand what that footprint of work is. I do understand that there's a CapEx requirement per stop, and I understand that there's a management and maintenance effort after it gets installed. I understand that it's gonna ride on existing infrastructure in the form of the cellular network that we might already have available. But I don't think I yet understand what it is that we're trying to do and what it is that we're hiring this integrator to do specifically over what number of sites they're gonna install these displays. Because I don't wanna boil it down to being overly simplistic, because I know that all things are more complicated than that. But these are monitors that display information that we already have for the benefit of riders and the public that maybe don't have access to their own device. Because if somebody shows up with their own device, whether it be a cell phone, tablet, or other thing, they have an application that they can download and see the same thing. I assume that's correct. And this is an alternate display that gives them information relevant to the stop that they're at. When is the bus going to arrive? When does the bus depart? And allows them to make decisions at the edge, meaning at the spot. And so I would like to have a greater understanding, and then I'd like to know, at least have some confidence in what the average unit cost is per site before I would vote to move this to the board.
Okay. You guys good with what we need?
Yes, understood.
Okay. All right. What is the time frame for this project that you're looking at? Is there any time sensitivity?
There is, there's a slight time sensitivity on it because the funding that we have for FDOT is getting set to expire next year. So we want to have the money spent before then. But other than that,
Okay, so the 2 million, FDOT money is chunk is 2 million,
yes.
right? And our amount is what, 1.5, I think it was,
Yes, sir.
out of our capital?
Somewhere around there, yes, sir.
When you say next year, can you be a little more?
June.
Huh?
June.
June of 27?
Yes, sir.
It's got to be spent by June of 27.
Yes.
So if we push it back 1 month, what does that do to you guys to refine presentation to this committee before it goes to the board? What kind of, what problems will that present?
For me, I'm not quite sure. I think we have it's about a 34-week, the plan right now is about a 34-week install.
Okay.
So,
But we can initiate and encumber by June of next year, right, Cheryl, do we think? And then satisfy the FDOT thing? Okay, so why don't we table this item to next month, give you an opportunity to come back with some refinements and so forth, as some of the committee members have asked for, and that you don't want to go to a full board and get shot down on stuff that you guys already know what it is. It's just a matter of putting it down on paper so that everybody's looking at the same thing. Everybody comfortable with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a motion to table to the next meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, cool. Put this on for next month's agenda item, if we could. Okay, next the presentation on the operations and maintenance. No, I'm sorry. Item 5B, recommend to the HART Board of Directors to authorize the CEO to submit a Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, amendment to the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization, TPO, to reprogram $15 million in unobligated surface transportation block grant urban SUFHWA funding from FPN 443140-1, fund the heavy maintenance facility capital project to bus replacement and midlife overhaul. Ms. Shirley Schuhurley, you are recognized, CFO, you're recognized to present on this item.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Schessler and committee members and my colleagues at HART. This morning, we'll be presenting a capital funding recommendation for the committee consideration. The item before you involves a proposed transportation improvement program amendment. Staff is requesting that this committee recommend the board to authorize the CEO to submit a TIP amendment to Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization and FDOT, reprogram $15 million in unobligated SU FHWA funds from heavy maintenance facility capital project to bus replacement and midlife overhaul. Before we turn into the details, we will establish a context and a framework for this decision. HART currently has $15 million in unobligated federal flexible funds programmed to heavy maintenance facility project. We also have an urgent fleet need that still needs to be addressed. This recommendation is grounded in two questions. Is this the highest value use of these funds at this moment? And does this mean them serve HART's long-term capital strategy? Our analysis concludes that reprogramming these funds is both more urgent and more strategic sound choice. It helps position the HMF project for a more credible financing path. For the question for why now, the fleet condition data is a starting point. We have 86 out of 131 active fixed route buses, approximately 2/3 of the operating fleet exceeding or approaching useful life. Aging vehicles carry higher maintenance costs and directly affects the service reliability and the confidence among the riders we serve. The $15 million is currently programmed to heavy maintenance facility. That reflects a legitimate priority. HMF is and remains the strategic capital need for HART. However, HMF is approximately $140 million capital project. The $15 million represents roughly 11% of the total project cost. These dollars are residing in a programming slot where they are not advancing HMF in near term in a material way, while an urgent fleet need exists that could be directly addressed. The proposed move. The recommendation is redirecting the $15 million in unobligated SU FHWA flexible fund from the HMF capital project to bus replacement and midlife overhaul. This type of funds are flexible by design. They are eligible for transit capital uses, including fleet, which makes this straightforward reprogramming consistent with federal guidelines. As shown on the slides, the flow of funds create a compounding effect. The federal dollar replaces the local dollars in fleet funding, and which frees up ad valorem revenue, which can be deployed as a local match to pursue competitive federal grants. Why this is a financially smarter move? Under the current approach, HART uses ad valorem revenue and some other available grants to fund bus replacement directly. This is a legit use of local funds, but it is a dollar-for-dollar expenditure. One local dollar produces $1 of fleet capital investment. This amendment changed that equation by redirecting federal flexible funds to fleet. We free local ad valorem revenue to serve as match for competitive federal discretionary program that transformed the local dollars from directing spending into a leverage tool. As it shows this example, we're currently pursuing a build grant, the better utilizing investments to leverage development program. This is competitive discretionary program that requires a local match, typically 20% for urban areas. Preserving the ad valorem capacity directly supports HART's ability to compete for and execute on programs of this type. This multiplier effect of competitive federal award significantly exceeds what those local dollars would produce if applied directly to the fleet replacement. And then, so this, we want to address directly what may be the central question for this committee. That's reprogramming these funds represent a retreat from HMF project. It does not, in fact, the opposite is true. A capital project of $140 million cannot be responsibly advanced through a single funding source. It requires a full financing stack, grants, credit assistance, and substantial local match participation structured together. This amendment is a first step in building that stack credibly. For example, TIFIA, the Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, is a federal credit assistance program most relevant to the project of HMF scale. It provides low interest, direct loans, and deferred repayment. At $140 million, HMF is well within the scope. The critical point is here, TIFIA requires a pledged stable repayment source. Ad valorem revenue qualifies as that source. HART's ability to pursue TIFIA financing depends directly on preserving ad valorem capacity. Reprogramming this fund is not a step away from HMF. It's a prerequisite for pursuing HMF through the financing structure of the project actually requires. So staff is requesting this committee to recommend to the Board of Directors authorize the CEO submit a TIP amendment to Hillsborough TPO and FDOT, reprogramming a $15 million unobligated SU FHWA funds under FPN 443-140-1 from HMF capital project to bus replacement and midlife overhaul. Following the board authorization, the next steps are the staff will prepare to submit the formal amendment to TPO and FDOT, continue coordination with FTA on grant tracking, and advanced HMF financing framework in parallel. This recommendation addressed an urgent state good repair need, preserves HART's competitive grant positioning, and established the financial foundation for a credible HMF financing strategy. Staff is confident in the course of the action and welcome the committee's question.
Okay. Ms. Weaver.
It's just a busy meeting. Go ahead.
Yes.
And it's taken me a moment to process what your request is to take funds from the heavy maintenance project that are unobligated funds, which is a surprise to me, and to know that we have unobligated funds that were already applied to the heavy maintenance project. And I would have assumed or thought that we had all of the funds that we acquire for the heavy maintenance equipment, I guess restructure, would have been assigned already. So is that something that I am missing here, that we have funds that were not assigned, although they are allocated to the heavy maintenance project?
This flexible funds flex to the FTA side, and it was designed in. We set aside for the heavy maintenance. That was the original application from last leadership. So it has been residing there and sitting there in the program slot, not being advanced to the heavy maintenance yet.
Oh, okay, so I'm going to have a few more questions.
Sure.
We have been working for years to acquire funding for heavy maintenance, and we believe that is a high priority initiative that we've asked over and over again. And to delay or to take away funds from the heavy equipment project because the dollar amount is so significant that it may be even more years before we get there, I'm not aligned with what I think I'm hearing at this point, because I thought we had a team of people that were working specifically on this project to ensure that the funding was stacked, maybe not in the way that you portrayed it on the slide, but they were stacking in order to get the funds, in order to at least make some progress there. And
Yeah.
I'm concerned that this will further, if the thought is the price tag is too large and we may never do it, I think that we need to understand that now. And then if there is a plan that we are delaying as a result of the immediate, the short-term need to acquire more busing, more timely stops, timely stop times and so forth, 15, 30 minutes, less than an hour. And we're going to trade that off as a result of the heavy maintenance building. I guess I need to understand
Yeah.
the pros and cons of doing so, as well as the other side of it. From my standpoint, I thought we had an aging vehicles process that would rotate those vehicles out as we were awarded, I believe, 8 or 16 buses recently. I can't remember the exact number, but I thought that process was already cared for within that rotation.
Isn't this really, this is really about leveraging that $15 million, is what I'm hearing you say. And I have all the same questions that you did, but I think many of them were answered in the presentation. We have $15 million, which is not enough to move forward on the heavy maintenance facility. So by reprogramming it to bus replacement and relieving the pressure on the ad valorem budget, which is something that we can leverage,
Right.
and it is something that maybe we can achieve a sufficient amount of funding to move the heavy maintenance forward. That's kind of what I'm hearing us doing, because if we stay with the programming as it is, it's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Whereas if we move it to the ad valorem, it's potentially a 5-to-1 ratio. I think you said 20%. That gives us 75 million of the 140 needed for the HMF. We don't yet have identified sources of funding for the remaining 125 million for the HMF, which speaks to your concern about that dire need. But this is reordering the table to give us a pathway to achieve that sooner than if we keep the programming as it is right now. That's what I heard you say, and am I correct in that summation?
You're correct.
Okay.
Oh, okay, but I'd like to clarify that it was not my understanding that we would have $15 million sitting anywhere, that there was a certain aspect of the role that should be taking place.
Yeah.
And as we move forward, and so that is my question.
Actually, that's correct. We do have phases of design.
Right.
Last year, we won build grant for phase 1. That's a certain design and address certain needs, and we're moving towards that direction. And this year, we also applied for build grant for phase 2 design. So these are able to move the needle. So if we win, so we still have phase build, and this is for phase 1 and phase 2 directly deployed towards heavy maintenance project. So we are, for the phases, we're directly addressing at a certain stage. So the project is not delayed in any way, but we cannot move forward in a material way beyond the design phases. There would be like a larger amount of dollar need to be deployed, and just waiting for this couple million, 5 million per year stacking up, we're not able to move forward any way anymore. And so that's why we're thinking about other funding strategies, such as thinking about taking on credit, like TIFIA project like that. So basically, we reserve ad valorem as a leveraging for build grant. And then what the rest of build grant doesn't cover, we were trying to use other funding strategy as TIFIA. So that's our chain of action for HMF projects.
I appreciate that clarification. It was not my understanding that we were waiting for additional funds in order to move forward in another cycle of the heavy maintenance building. The $15 million would have been some part of that was already taking place. But it sounds like you're saying it's sitting in a budget line item, and it's sitting there waiting for additional dollars so you can move forward in the next step of the process?
Yeah, we haven't deployed, yes, that 15 million is still sitting there. And another question you had addressing, so the bus needed. This year, we actually submit a order about, we're addressing 8 buses that needed. So for 5.6 million ad valorem dollars, and with 8,050 formula funds. So this gives us 8 buses for this autumn, this fall. Now, if we're able to get this amendment basically approved, then we would free up this 5.6 million ad valorem. as a local funding leverage for competitive grants.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you, Chair. I have a number of questions, and I think I have some concerns. We have, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have just recently converted all of our buses over to LNG, correct?
CNG.
CNG, okay. But we've already, everything's CNG now, correct?
Not everything,
No.
a large portion. Sorry.
Today, we have 99 buses that are CNG. The total fleet has 131 buses, so we're not yet
Okay.
100% CNG. But we did win the low note that will take us to 100% CNG.
Well, the presentation that was made at the TPO a couple of weeks ago was that we were fully converted over to CNG.
No, we are on our way to be at 100% CNG.
Okay, well,
Below
all right. Be that as it may, how soon will we reach that point?
I'll probably say within 2 to 3 years. It takes about 2 years to build a bus.
Okay, and this $15 million will allow us to purchase some additional buses as well as overhaul some of our existing buses?
Yes, we should be purchasing 16 buses annually. We have not placed a bus order other than the 8 right now since 2023.
So this would allow us to purchase how many additional buses, 8?
No, this would probably allow us to purchase maybe another 25 to 30 buses. And
That would be over and above the 8 we've already purchased?
correct.
So,
Today, if I may, sir, sorry to interrupt.
okay. My understanding is that the heavy maintenance facility that we have now is not adequate for servicing the new buses we have coming online because of the physical dimensions and the requirements of those buses. Is that correct?
That is part of the problem, sir.
Okay. Well, if we take this $15 million and we use it to buy additional buses and overhaul some existing buses, how long are we going to wind up delaying the heavy maintenance facility because of that diversion?
Well, I don't think because of this conversion, we will delay the heavy maintenance comparing to our baseline. We're comparing to if we were just waiting for this flexible block fund to be enough to deploy to do heavy maintenance, we still have to wait 4 years because these grant, the 50 million we are talking about, I should address that it is not yet awarded as yet because there are 2026 block and there are 2031 year for 5 million. So there's the 8 million 2024, 2025, and 2 million 2026. So this is currently 10 million. Another 5 million is in 2031. So basically we have, if you say roughly average 5 million per year, and we're still waiting for to stack up to 140 million to be able to basically do some major work after the design phase is done.
Okay, well, assuming that we actually do approve this $15 million diversion,
Yeah.
we're going to use that money and leverage it
So
through
for
what means?
So for this, if we approve this conversion, these will be $1 for bus purchase. In the reserved local fund ad valorem would be a leverage for
Ad
competitive
valorem,
growth.
you mean like an ad valorem tax increase?
Correct, yeah, our revenue.
Okay, well, that would have to be approved by
No,
the
no,
county.
no, 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 not an increase, not an increase.
Not an increase.
Not an
No increase,
utilize
just the
existing
revenues, yeah.
rates. See, part of that valorem goes capital. Okay?
No, I understand, I mean, basically, capital improvements I get.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's worth going out on a limb for if you're going to make capital improvements.
Well, but purchasing a bus is a capital.
Right, I understand, I get that too. But what I'm trying to do is determine what the practical effect's going to be on the HMF. And if we're not talking about an ad valorem increase, where's that money coming from?
Debt,
Basically, it's the.
Debt?
debt,
We have no debt.
we're gonna have to.
We will.
Well, okay,
the-
that,
we're-
We could potentially
okay,
incur debt.
so that's not a word that's been used so far.
Yeah,
It hasn't been used so far, but
I
that
didn't
it
hear
is.
the word debt in your presentation anywhere.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is in the
Okay.
proposed
I might have
new.
missed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is TIFIA, it is,
Right.
it's a credit
Yeah.
strategy.
There.
I think it's, we're talking about moving $15 million that's currently dedicated to the HMF and reallocating it and using it to purchase the same number of buses that we would have otherwise purchased using
Use a
ad
local-
valorem funding. So we're not buying more buses.
Correct.
And we're not doing it sooner. We're just moving one bucket of money to the ad valorem side. We're freeing up the ad valorem side without any increase to make it available for continuing the work that we were gonna do on the HMF and allowing it to be considered in either, in grants that we're contemplating applying for that require ad valorem, that don't allow us to use this grant money to leverage. So, but if we have ad valorem funding, they'll say, hey, that's great. We might consider this grant for you, and that grant has leverage in it up to 5-to-1 that we don't get when we do the 1-to-1 leverage on the grant money. And that's what I'm hearing to be said, but I think it's being interpreted as we're delaying anticipating progress on the HMF, which is not the plan. And I also think the point of confusion is that we are buying more buses than we were gonna buy anyway, which is also not the
No.
plan that's being proposed.
Precisely. Thank you.
Now, over a period of time, say 3 to 5 years or what have you, right? Okay. Let's get back to the debt issue for a minute. HART currently has no debt. Okay, that makes
That's
it,
correct,
that makes
yeah.
it a unicorn in transportation authorities. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Most everything else is leveraged with debt. Now, debt is useful if you use it correctly for capital expenditures. Okay? Not for operations, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, but that debt, we just can't go out and write a check and incur the debt. It'd have to be approved by the county commission, and it would have to go before the voters, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think it.
Well,
No,
well, well,
no, that's no bond. No, we're talking.
Well, okay,
Well,
so,
what's-
so how do you propose to incur?
Governmental funds.
No,
So-
I think there's just too many, what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm totally misunderstanding this, there is a gap in the funding needed to complete the HMF. We expect that to be 140 million. Right now, we have 15 million. We are seeking ways to secure additional funding to reach 140 million. And one of the strategies being contemplated through this move is to basically take the 15 million, give it to ad valorem, take what would have been paid for by ad valorem and give it to the HMF project, let's say. And by giving it to the HMF project, we can make it available in these grant applications that require ad valorem funding as part of their application that also have leverage, which gets us closer to having a HMF being fully funded, which it's currently not. And the only funding we have for the HMF includes initial design and planning, but we're still short 125 million that we have to come up from somewhere. This plan helps us eat into that gap. And I don't think this plan includes, and if I'm wrong, please tell me, it does not include the request to issue debt to pay for the gap. This is trying to use grants that we believe will be available or could be available should we have the ad valorem stream that's currently not available, but would be if we move this unallocated grant money into the ad valorem side and we freed up the ad valorem side that's currently being used to buy buses to do the grant support.
correct.
Something I think that we're missing the boat, and maybe I'm missing the whole thing completely on this also, is the dire need to improve our overall bus inventory. Our rolling stock, 75 of the buses are approaching, I don't know
Yeah,
what
75 is,
are approaching their
I-
useful life.
yeah.
Okay, and to maintain a state of good repair, which supplies its own amount of funding available through the Fed, was it 5310, I think it is? I can't remember which account number that is. But, I mean, we have to maintain a state of good repair for our rolling stock, or we don't participate in that pool of funding. So we're trying to I think what we're trying to do is figure out a way to fund the additional buses to get them going. The 32 million that we received from the feds, it's going to take several years for this to occur. And this will give us a deeper pool with which to buy and order more buses so that we have them constantly coming through. Is that
Correct.
true?
If we don't have this amendment, then our alternative would be forced to use local ad valorem for this funding this buses, and this
Okay.
is still not enough.
Now, the other question, now the other question, now is this part of the, do we have a match on the 32 million? Is that what you're saying? Is this to cover the match on 32, or is 32 outright for the buses only?
The 32, you mean,
The 32 million that we got over.
Lono?
last couple years?
Lono?
The,
So what you're talking about, the Lono grant?
yeah,
Chair, if I may?
the one for Castor, was that,
If I may, sir?
yeah, please.
So, first point of clarification, today we have 75 buses currently past their useful life.
Okay. Out of,
We-
out of the 131?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How many of those are CNG?
About half.
Okay.
So the buses
We
we
have-
want to replace anyway.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
86 approaching the end of their useful life. That includes the 75 within the next year.
Okay.
So by this time next year, we're gonna need 86 new buses.
Yeah, so that's the critical impetus for doing it
Yes.
this method, for this flip.
A part of this equation is the fact that as vehicles age, they become more costly to maintain. And there are federal requirements that states that if we invest federal funds into these assets, we have to keep them for 2 years on average. So we can't invest federal funds in them and then turn around and sell the buses. We're forced to keep them if we do any substantial overhaul on them.
Okay.
On the question regarding the match, I believe we're using FDOT credits and some other local fundings for the match for the Lono. The Lono only gets us halfway there. It only replaces 33 diesel buses with CNG buses, still leaving us with a balance today of the remaining up to 75.
I think we introduce additional questions, quite frankly, with that, because I thought we're not changing our bus recapitalization plan at all with this proposal. But I'm hearing you say that we might be.
Our bus replacement capital has not been funded.
Okay,
No.
so we have a need to replace buses. We don't have the money to replace buses. We have in our budget, in our operating budget, we have an item to replace, what, 8 buses? Is that right? And then those 8 buses are about 2 years out. But the reality is we need many more new buses than just that.
Correct.
The compounding factor is that if we delay the HMF, even if we do get all these new buses, we don't have an adequate facility to maintain the CNG bus, because the CNG buses have a higher clearance and the current facility is inadequate in a number of other ways. And what I think we're struggling with is, one, how to maintain our rolling stock, recapitalize it as we need to meet the current need so that we continue to qualify for the grants that we get to either buy and or maintain buses. And we also have to balance on the other side of the fulcrum the requirement to further, along the same timeline that we have now, the HMF facility, which we don't have fully funded right now. But if we don't find a way to get it fully funded, then it won't matter, because we'll have a bunch of rolling stock that we can't properly maintain anyway.
Okay,
And
hold
so-
that thought for 1 second. Let's clarify. Now, how much how far will this delay, to your point, how far will the 15 million move affect the timeline of the HMF?
I don't think it will delay at
Okay.
all.
See, that's the
Yeah.
part that's all, and I apologize for interrupting, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with one issue and then have to come back and redress everything. So moving the 15 million should not delay the overall phasing structure.
If I could add for clarification, Phase 1 is fully funded. We received the build grant through USDOT.
And how much was that?
23.4
Okay,
million,
all right.
I believe-ish.
Okay.
And we currently submitted for this next round, USDOT released another request for this year's build applications. We applied for the design of the HM. So I believe it's around $11 million. We believe the design of the facility will be. So we have applied for those funds. So Phase 1 is fully funded and in progress, and we have applied for USDOT build for the design of the facility. So that's currently where we are. So we would not be behind if that is a concern.
The 15 million, when was that the 15 million, when was that phased into the overall plan, or do we know? 'Cause
My
it wasn't
understanding,
assigned.
sorry, Shirley, HART always programmed, or historically programmed the money for buses. Previous HART leadership asked the TPO to
Right.
reallocate those funds towards the HM. We've surely outlined that
would put
this
it back.
strategy would be much more flexible, and we could go back to using those funds for its original purpose of buying buses and keep us to date with our fleet plan.
Okay, I'll go back to you.
I thank you for letting me express that, because I think this is the debate and discussion that we need among the committee, because
right.
when we get it to the full board, we're going to have to either present a recommendation or not. And there's a number of kind of thorny issues embedded into this discussion. If there were to be debt, that would be a non-starter. I agree. I do think we have to be concerned about the ad valorem funding, because there's quite a bit of discussion regarding its future. So we need to be sensitive to that fact. But but what I'm hearing today is that this is just a reallocation of an existing bucket of money, and we're freeing up money from our operating budget, and we're just doing a swap. And by doing that swap, it gives us a seat at the table for grants that we wouldn't otherwise be qualified. And at no point in this are we taking money away from the HMF project. And whatever money we have today, the same amount of money will be available. Whatever's happening today will continue to happen. It will just be paid for by a different line item in our
Yes.
budget.
Thank you.
Mr. King, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just to clarify, we're talking about working within the existing ad valorem structure and not,
Yeah.
okay, all right, that's fine.
correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Director Knight, you had your hand. Okay, all right. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I'm good with moving forward. I plan to move forward with
All
the
right.
plan at this point.
Need a recommendation, recommend to the HART Board to move this item forward, to the HART, make a recommendation to, make a motion for the committee to recommend moving the motion to the full HART Board at the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion is second. Any comment? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, thank you. This is these are big topics. These are big issues. So I appreciate we need the give and take, and I appreciate staff being helpful to helping us to understand. You guys live this each and every day, and we may see a report, but sometimes we have to pick. We're not challenging you, but we want to make sure that before we say yes, that we're all on the same page with it. So thank you very much. And this is your first dipping your toes into the process. So next is a presentation on the operations and maintenance monthly report for January, February from Mr. Anthony Hayward. Good morning, sir. And, for bus operations, Mr. James Secor, Director of Paratransit, Mr. Nicholas Goldberg, Director of Fleet Maintenance, and Dale Smith, and Mr. For Facilities, and Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members and staff. This is our report. I'm Anthony Hayward, the Director of Bus Operations. This is our January and February metrics report. We want to always start on our on-time performance on all four modes. As you can see, we have been steady since September 2025. We've had good months and this really steady months throughout the whole 6 months. But our ridership for January and February, as you can see for fixed route, we're basically staying where we normally are, around 800,000. We had a slight dip in February, just looking at it from the time short month aspect of why February is a little less than our January numbers. But we stayed consistent basically for our past 2 months. Again, our 6-month ridership trend, again, a high month in October, but basically around 800,000 is our average, give or take, per month. Weekly ridership. Of course, these numbers reflect the Route 1 being fares coming back into place again. Previously in our charts, our Route 1 was as high as 5,000, over 5,000 in our ridership, but it's back to our normal about 349.7, and it's competitive with our Route 6, and then our 34 and our 400. The 400 was running simultaneously with, and in the same corridor, I should say, with the Route 1. So some of those riders that were on the Route 1 because it was free came back to our 400. So our 400 ridership went back up again to over our 2,000. I think we was averaging a little less than 1,500 in our ridership previously when we had the Route 1 was free for our pilot program. But our on-time performance stayed pretty much consistent for our local routes and our express. We are looking forward to having our Cover CAD program on our fixed route buses in, and we're looking for our on-time performance numbers to go higher than what these current numbers are. And I want to jump out there just in case they stay the same, but we are looking to go higher once our new system is in place. For our top 5 route performance, again, our Route 1, 6, and 34 and 400 are our dominant routes. Those are our heavy riderships, as well as we try to maintain our on-time performance with those particular routes. Always, we pride ourselves in completing our trips. So we always staying at our 99% for January and February in completing trips. This next slide is going to show some of our challenges in completing trips. As we can see, mechanical failures, operator shortages, vehicle shortages, accidents, all these things contribute to not only completing our trips, but also affect our on-time performance. So our team works very hard, frontline employees, operators, mechanics, to try to make sure we provide the service that we need to provide on a daily basis to the citizens of Hillsborough County. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
I do. What action are we taking to mitigate the operator shortage? It looks like that represents 30% of the misses in February or on-time performance and 25% in January.
Yeah, so I mean, that pool, it comes from attendance, comes from operators resigning or retiring. We've had, especially in February, we had a uptake of retirement from our operators. So we had a lot of operators that had over 30 years of service. They have decided to retire, so that increased our number for our 30%. Of course, we actively, right now we're doing interviews. We have a graduating class on March 27th that will have 16 additional operators coming to our service. And then we do have another operating class start again April 13th, which we're hoping to have another 30 bus operators to start that particular class. So we're hoping to close that gap, but that is the reason why our gap is increased in February at this point.
The actions that you're taking, are they going to close the gaps that are here?
Yeah, we believe that they will, yes.
Okay, and that will take place by April? Or
Well,
May?
it will actually take place start of June.
June?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we won't have another class starting until April 13th. And it's a 10-week training program that we have. So roughly by June, we're hoping to have 25 to 30 additional bus operators in our staff.
Okay, and the retirements, are you looking at that ahead of time? Usually you say, okay, how many people are retirement eligible and what percentage of those people, and you plan for that so that it does not cause this gap?
Well, we do look at that situation, but again, we don't necessarily predict when someone says they don't want to do it anymore. We kind of had that influx of retirement based off of kind of the ATU now went into COVID money, so they decided that they were just staying around because of that, thinking that they were going to win. But because that didn't happen, they just, they all decided to step away from service.
And if I may, Chair?
Sure, please.
So one thing, Director Williams, important, these absences here are dynamic, meaning that they happen on a daily basis, unannounced. So even though we do have a significant deficit in terms of our head count, they're not reflected in these charts.
Very good.
These
Thank
are
you.
day-to-day challenges that we face.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for this, and this is helpful to me, but I have a request to the extent that the dashboard can support it. When you were talking about January to February ridership,
Yes,
you
sir.
qualified that, February is a shorter month, so
Yes.
the ridership is reflective of that fact. Would the data dashboard support year over year, quite frankly? Because that would seem more meaningful to me. Like, what was our ridership in January of '25 versus January of '26? That would help me understand the impacts of losing the free fare that we
Right.
used to have. And then overlap to that, February of this year to February of last year. Those are the comparisons, and they would allow us to extract out the variabilities that exist, not only in the number of days per month, but also there's a rhythm to people's behaviors. They do different things in January than they do in June.
Yes.
So if that can be considered, it would be helpful, at least to
Yes.
me.
Yep.
The other question that I'd like to surface, and it speaks to Director Williams' question on the operator shortage and the question of, well, what are we doing about that? And I know that there's many things that have to go into both recruiting, training, and then retaining workforce. And there's a complex set of discussions that go with that. And then there's a layer that isn't immediately identifiable, which is the effective staffing that we have, because we have a certain number of employees, but then we have a lot of, how do I want to say this? There's a percentage of employees, depending on the day or the week or the month, that are not available for work for one reason or another, whether it be short-term sick, long-term sick, disability, et cetera. And we had a presentation, I think it was 2 months ago, that put a fine point on that issue, which makes it look very concerning. And I know that it's trying to be managed. I know that there's challenges, whether they be budgetary or other things, but finding a way to express that so that we don't lose that point, I think would be important, because some of the solutions to that, well, there are many solutions to that, and I just don't want that very, very important point being lost from the presentation 2 months ago.
Right, and everything you say is absolutely correct, and particularly the retention piece. So are you prepared to give? Yeah, please.
We are in the process and just beginning, meaning HR and marketing came together and just submitted their first proposal to leadership on something very interesting, looking at predictive index, which is probably something people are aware of in the private sector. And we're looking at, do we have to procure such an instrument like that? And then taking operators and even maintenance employees who do have perfect attendance, who do have customer accommodations, and what are the characteristics that go into that? And then build our marketing and recruiting campaigns over that, and also our interview questions. Do they align with the characteristics of what it takes for someone to sit in that seat? Because it is a very difficult job and it brings very different characteristics. We don't know of a transit agency in the country doing this, so we're very, very excited to be launching this work. So you'll likely see something come across for procurement if it exceeds the threshold, but we're very, very excited, because getting into the mindset of what it takes to be a great bus operator is, we think, special, and we think we're onto something very interesting.
I think that's really important, and I think it helps to, it will hopefully begin to solve some of these challenges, because it's one thing to have all the full-time equivalent headcount that you need, but then to effectively be much lower than 100% on that.
And if I could also add, we're trying to look at things from very many different lights. So I know Audrey Evans, who's director of HR, we're looking to bring in Florida retirement, because things that you may not think impact your retirement 30 years down the road are things like FMLA use, because you can't use that time. It's not pensionable or add to your retirement. So how people are using their time in the short term may make sense, but is it going to get you to the long term of what your monthly retirement would be? So we're trying to educate our employees. So we'll be bringing those talks into operator lounge, maintenance lounges, even administrative employees. I just shouldn't. So people are aware of how it affects how you live the game in the long run.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Appreciate it. Good report. Okay, Mr. Secor, good morning still.
Yes, still morning. Yeah, but good morning. I'm James Secor, Director of Paratransit. Good morning to your chair, committee members. I'm going to be going over the monthly metrics for January and February. All right. This first slide is our paratransit total volume. It's remaining consistent, hovering around 25,000 trips monthly. From the start of FY26 through February, we provided around 125,000 trips between HART Plus and Customer Choice. We anticipate transporting close to 300,000 trips, if not over, by the close of FY26. And this slide shows our paratransit growth overall since FY24, but mainly the growth of the Customer Choice Program, which is our grant-funded on-demand service. Customer Choice allows patrons to make same-day trips, and they can be picked up within 30 minutes of this time of call. Yellow Cab is our Customer Choice vendor, and we also use them for our overflow. So whenever HART Plus, when we have a significant amount of trips that are left unscheduled, we use those cab service to get those passengers transported. FY23, we transported a total of 230,000 trips. FY24, we grew by 18%, transporting just over 260,000 trips. In FY25, we grew an additional 16%, transporting just under 300,000 trips. Again, through February, we're around 125,000 trips, and if that trend continues, we're going to exceed that 300,000, but it also shows an additional growth of 2%. In our 88 paratransit on-time performance, Q1 of FY26, we finished with a pickup OTP of 80% against the goal of 85%. And for the appointment time or drop-off OTP, we finished at 89.7% against a goal of 90%. We finished January and February for an average pickup OTP of 83.25 against that goal of 85%. And for the appointment time for January and February, we finished with an average of 90.95%, meeting our goal of 90% for those 2 months. Customer service call volume. This slide shows our average calls per hour and average queue times. As you can see, we average a little over 37 calls per hour for January and February. And for the last 6 months, we averaged right at 37 calls per hour. Now for our queue times, our average queue time is 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes between both queues. And to improve these numbers, we're migrating to a new phone system that will improve our efficiency, collaboration, and customer satisfaction. Staff is currently undergoing training, and we are expected to go live with the new WebEx software April 5th. And HART Plus eligibility application. This slide reflects application intake volume for new HART Plus patrons and also patrons who are, HART Plus applicants and also patrons who are recertifying. We received over 900 applications for the first quarter of FY26. January and February, we received around 400 applications for both new and new HART Plus applicants and patrons who are recertifying. We've received over 1,300 applications through February, and overall, the trend reflects sustained growth and eligibility requests, which has direct implications for processing capacity, service demand, and resource planning. And that's the end of my slides. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to laugh at myself a little bit because I think I've had a question or a comment on every single presentation. So I apologize to everybody. Specifically to the paratransit, and on one of your last points, do you know approximately the total population of eligible people in the paratransit category?
It's about 4,400.
So 4,400.
Yes, sir.
And then for how long after initially qualified do they stay qualified before they have to get re-qualified?
Unless it's circumstantial, about 3 years.
About 3 years.
Yes, sir.
And then we have the paratransit system and we have the yellow cab overflow. In order to use either one of those, you have to be one of the qualified persons.
Yes, sir, you have to be eligible.
And then the only thing I'd like to throw out from maybe a strategic perspective, and I know it's been discussed at some of the TPO meetings, to include also in the board meetings, I think Commissioner Wastel has mentioned it on more than one occasion, which is the evolving technology that's available in the transportation sector, including what seems to be imminent, whether they be robo-taxis or some other form of transportation that provides point-to-point, which is what paratransit seems to do, or yellow cab seems to do, but might do it in a more capital-efficient, cost-efficient way. And I want to make sure that that's on our radar for HART, because even though that technology hasn't yet been completed, but I do think it's coming, and it would seem relevant and important for us to be looking into ways that we might take advantage of those things, and how that might allow us to either provide more service for the existing budget to more people throughout more parts of the county, or it might allow us to reduce the cost associated with maybe starting with the yellow cab contract, which I've always heard is very expensive and quite a drain. So those were my only two comments, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
One question, James.
Yes, ma'am. Apologize.
If you could turn back to the slide that has the queues, I think it had calls,
Yes, ma'am.
average queue time. What does the y-axis represent? Is that?
You said
Well, I guess it's, the queue time is that 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes? Is that what
Yes,
that
ma'am.
represents?
Those are the key times. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Good presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas Goldburn, you're up. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning again, Chair, Committee, Chiefs, colleagues. Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance. I'll be presenting your January, February monthly metrics report. I'm going to start off with preventive maintenance. This slide's important because it shows that we're compliant for safety and federal funding. FTA and FDOT requires that we complete safety inspections, preventive maintenance inspections, with a minimum compliance of 80%. For the month of January, we completed our inspections at 97%, and in February, we completed all inspections with 100%. In January, we did 105 buses. February, we did 95. Fixed route system reliability. This slide is indicative of how the vehicles are performing while they're in service. Our goal is to drive 15,000 miles between major mechanical failures. And I can tell you that in my 21 years of doing this, buses, vehicles, they love the cooler weather. So performance has been trending very well this fall. But a part of this goes back to the efforts my team has made to increase the underlying condition of the assets. And knowing that we have no new buses in sight anytime soon, we've launched several aggressive campaigns to utilize ad valorem dollars to rebuild a lot of our engines. Engines and cooling systems account for 50% of our roll calls. So we've proactively gone after those systems, and we're seeing the fruits of their labor. Fleet availability. I'm jumping to the next slide. This slide reflects the conversation about funding and the age of the vehicle. So what I can say in looking at the data, My team is doing an exceptional job in making sure that when they put the vehicle out in service, the vehicle remains reliable and travels as much of a distance as it can. On the other side of the equation, when we have the vehicles in the shop, we're not going to release a vehicle for service that's not roadworthy. And with staffing challenges and the age of the fleet and the fact that the fleet is so old, our oldest fleet accounts for about 6,000 labor hours annually. Our newest fleet is about 2,100. As they get older, they have more downtime. So we're constantly struggling to have vehicles available for the morning pullout. Our goal is to have 80% of the buses available. We have not hit that goal in a while, but we're trending close and we remain close to that goal. Some of it's chart staffing, but a large majority is just the workload on the staff. For January, we did 76%, and February, we did 78% fleet availability. Paratransit vehicle availability, similar to the fixed route fleet availability, we have a benchmark for providing, at least we had a benchmark providing 55 vehicles for the paratransit service every day. Back in October, we launched a new initiative. We created we standard up a team to focus solely on paratransit and non-revenue vehicles. And with instructions from the chief and the CEO to bring that benchmark up to 60. So back on October 26th, we initiated this program. Since then, we've seen drastic improvements in our paratransit vehicle availability. November, we did 62. December, we did 62 on average. January, we're up to 67, and February, we did 66 vans available for service every day. So the teams are splitting the resources between fixed route and paratransit. We decided to not fight fires and just have two teams working on both fleets at the same time. That concludes my presentation. I kind of went through it a little quick, but I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Sure.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you for a number of the actions that are taken in order to help us utilize our dollars in our busing strategy, stretch it even further, considering we've always had a budgetary issue, and just everything I've heard today has centered around how can we take what we have and do more with it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to echo that. I remember you giving a presentation in the fall of last year about some of the changes in, not direction, but some of the initiatives you were putting into place. And although you gave credit to the cold weather for that huge increase in mean time between failures, I think a lot of that might have to do with the leadership and planning that you did last summer, or last fall.
A lot of it is, but a portion of it is every fall we do see increase in reliability. So I know a small portion.
I'm just giving you the credit.
I know. Well, I'm preparing you for summer too.
The only comment that I have is how many of the new paratransit vans are in service?
Believe we're
how many total, I guess?
SUV. Speaking of SUVs,
yeah.
SUVs, we believe we're up to five. We recently accepted delivery of the first two that were ordered back in 2024 for the cutaways.
Right.
So the team's working on getting those in service.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much. Mr. Dale Smith, Director of Facilities and Keeper of the Icebox.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members, Mr. McCarthy, HART staff. My name is Dale Smith, Director of Facilities, and I'll be presenting the facilities metrics for January and February. We want to start out with an overview of work orders completed by the route maintenance team. Preventive maintenance work orders for January and February were above average, and this reflects our ongoing proactive maintenance efforts. Our demand response work orders for route maintenance in January and February were also significantly above average. These work orders include patron requests and general bus stop repairs. This slide highlights the facilities department work orders. Preventive maintenance is our proactive approach designed to prevent equipment failures and extend asset life. January and February totals were all above average. And demand response work orders remained on track due to the hard work of our 6 facility technicians. This team constantly goes above and beyond to support our mission. Flooring Works installed some new flooring for us in the preventive maintenance break room. This was part of an ongoing renovation project that included upgraded lighting, fresh paint, updated furniture, and cabinetry improvements. The existing stairwell fixtures at Marion Transit Center were replaced with upgraded LED lighting. This improved the illumination levels, enhanced employee safety, and supported egress compliance. The Fleet and Facilities Department partnered to install dual cooling fans on 43 new electronic enclosures that support the CAD AVL, radio, DVR, and Wi-Fi equipment. This collaboration kept the project on schedule and accelerated the readiness of our new paratransit vehicles, saving several days of labor. Some beautification projects completed included the landscaping at Northwest Transit Center, which was trimmed to improve visibility and overall appearance, and the Wesley Chapel Park and Ride was seal-coated and restriped to enhance the appearance and improve the condition of the shared facility thanks to the PMO department. Some safety projects we completed included some loud music is strictly prohibited signage was installed at all transit centers to reinforce conduct expectations. A designated tow truck parking space was added at the 21st Avenue facility to improve vendor coordination when vehicles are towed back to the lot. And a significant asphalt failure in the east lot caused by a stormwater washout was cut, excavated, and repaired to stabilize the base and restore the surface. Route maintenance installed 3 new shelters in District 3, Bloomingdale Avenue near Super Target servicing Route 8, Progress Boulevard and Falkenberg Road serving Route 8, and Nebraska Avenue and Lineball Avenue serving Route 400. 2 additional shelters were also installed, District 1, Hillsborough Avenue and Himes Avenue servicing Route 34, and in District 4, Oakfield Drive and Moon Avenue servicing Route 38. To date, the route maintenance team has installed 113 of our new style shelters in-house. And at this time, I'll take any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anybody, any questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Good
All right.
report, appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Richard Campbell.
Good
Chief
afternoon,
Safety Officer.
Chair, directors, Mr. McCarthy, and staff. My name is Richard Campbell, I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I will be presenting the monthly metrics for safety for January and February. So for the month of January, the safety, we had 1 injury to report, 2 safety events. For the month of February, we had 2 injuries, 3 safety events, and 4 assaults to report. Injuries for January in safety are self-imposed 1.0 per 100,000 revenue miles is our standard. So as you can see, for the month of January, we were at 0.18, and for the month of February, 0.39. So we're well below our self-imposed mark. Safety events for January and February as well. For January, 0.54 and February, 0.59. Paratransit route safety report. We had 1 injury reported in January, and we had nothing to report for February. In the streetcar, the month of January, 2 injuries reported, and nothing for the month of February. Preventable and non-preventable accidents, 10 non-rated, 13 preventable accidents, 19 non-preventable accidents, 17 that were still in progress, and then for the month of February, 10 non-rated, 4 preventable, 17 non-preventable, and 5 still in the investigation process. As far as I did prepare, as far as the assaults, I know that this is a big concern. So for the month of January, we had a few non-major physical. So we had 3 events where somebody threatened the operator, but there was no physical contact. And for the month of February, we had a couple instances where individuals kicked and damaged the glass door on the bus. But again, no physical touch to the operator. So I know that's always a big concern, and we do report that in full transparency. But in these 2 situations for the 2 months, we didn't have any operators that were physically touched.
Any questions? Mr. Knight.
Yes, wanted to know, like on the non-preventable For the 2 months, what are the average on non-preventable? What are they?
So the non-preventable accidents would be accidents that we don't have any fault. So non-preventable, we couldn't have prevented it. So a lot of times, in most cases, and I don't have it in front of me, each one, but most often than not, that's generally, we stopped at a bus stop, which happens quite a bit, and a vehicle not paying attention behind us hits the bus. So that does happen a lot, even with, all the lighting and, branding we have on the back of the bus. Unfortunately, I believe that the cell phone use is a big catalyst in that. So that's generally where, the non-preventables come into play.
And lastly, thank you all for the presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean.
Just a question on the safety of the drivers and safety of the passengers, absolutely non-negotiable. And for those incidents where somebody attempted to kick but didn't make contact and or damaged the asset in some way, you said that you report them. Do we also vigorously pursue charges against those offending individuals?
Absolutely. Any damage to, obviously, if it's a physical assault to an employee or staff or customer, absolutely. Unfortunately, when it comes to a situation like that, sometimes a customer, or sometimes they're not even a customer. It's somebody approaches the vehicle and may throw something at the vehicle or kick out the glass and then take off. So we do report it, but it's not generally, if there is an injury or something like that, it's generally not a high priority for law enforcement. So by the time they get to the scene, that person is left.
Thank you. Yeah. So we report it for the context of tracking, but then we also externally report it to whatever entity, whether it be the sheriff or somebody else for when it's.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We report it, but most, like I said, not high priority if there's no injury or something like that. So generally by the time they get there, we've had to move on, they're gone.
Thank you.
Director Knight. Oh, huh? Okay. I had nothing else. Any further? Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, Mr. McCarthy, you're recognized to share updates on the procurement method monitoring reports.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Sorry. Thank you, Chairman Schisler. Good morning, members of the committee. Sole source awards. One sole source procurement has been added to the sole source report since the February Finance and Audit Committee. United Data Technologies in the amount of $65,190 for WebEx phone project consultant. UDT is HART's authorized Cisco partner of record following a solicitation conducted in 2024. HART's existing call manager phone system will be replaced with a WebEx calling migration. UDT will oversee the transition through design, configuration, testing, and implementation of the project. Fiscal year 2026 sole source procurements total $1,148,199. Notice of solicitations issued in FY26. One new solicitation was issued since the February Finance and Audit Committee meeting. A solicitation for a qualified consulting firm to provide consulting and broker services for HART's health insurance and benefits programs. This contract will replace the current contract, which will expire in July 2026. And that concludes my report.
Okay, very good. Any questions of Mr. McCarthy? Thank you. Okay, moving on. Can you turn the page? Included in the committee meeting packet are the task orders, contract monitoring reports update for the heavy maintenance facility. If the committee has any questions, staff is present to respond. Appearing to be none. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Appearing to be none. Before we adjourn, I would like to say, thank the committee members for the questions. This is what we need to flesh this stuff out now. And to staff, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your answers. It's, that's what we're here to get this done. So I appreciate the 2 hours plus meeting. But thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair.